the truth. They're all trying to say, authority is the truth, which never worked for me. For me, truth is the only authority. But there was nobody to… Really, I went all over the place looking, but nobody could give a sensible answer. Everybody quotes somebody else who is dead long ago. So I became a super skeptical about everything. So when you become so skeptical, somewhere within you, you also become aloof. I'm very engaged with society around me, very active in the world, but within myself very aloof. Then this restlessness of wanting to find something initially made me cycle around South India, then I motorcycled, crisscrossed India a few times. National borders always stopped me and I didn't like it. So I came back determined I will make necessary documents to cross the national borders and make enough money so that I can just ride away. Planet is round and simply ride away somewhere. So I started a business, became very successful, started one more, half a dozen businesses going. In a short span of time, I was far more successful than people would normally expect in a brief period of time. Not like today, somebody makes $1 billion in 3 months, not that kind of success, but for those days, for brick and mortar business, successful. So everything that I do is working well and all people around me are clapping their hands and say, "You're great." Slowly the planets are beginning to revolve around me. They left the sun and they were going around me. So super skeptical and slowly becoming very cocky. Because everything that you do is working and you kind of… this. So one afternoon between two business meetings, I didn't have nothing much to do. Is there anybody familiar with Mysore city? Whoa, not bad. So this is a small little culturally rich city in southern India and there's a hill, it's called the Chamundi Hill. As I grew up in this city, right from my childhood, if I want to trek, we trek Chamundi Hills, we want to camp, we camp Chamundi Hills. When I grew up, we want to test our motorcycles up the hill. If you want to party, Chamundi Hill. If you fall in love, we have to go up Chamundi Hill. If we fall out, again we have to go Chamundi Hill. If you have nothing to do, Chamundi Hill. So that afternoon I had 1.5 to 2 hours break, I had nothing much to do. So without even thinking, I just rode up Chamundi Hill. Because I would rarely get off my motorcycle. So, just went up Chamundi Hill. So parked somewhere halfway up and as I know the hill very well, I climbed up a little bit and sat on a rock. My eyes were still open. Till that moment, I thought, this is me and that is somebody. I have no issues with that somebody, but I have no business either. This is me, that's somebody else. Being peaceful and happy has not been an issue, everything is working out well, you're young and there's really no issue as such. I'm just sitting there with my eyes open. Suddenly I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was just all over the place. The very rock on which I was sitting, the air that I was breathing, the atmosphere around me, what was me had just exploded all over the place. I thought, this madness lasted for about 10–15 minutes. When I came back to my normal senses, it was about 4.5 hours gone by. For the first time in my adult life, tears. Me and tears were impossible. I was like that. But here, tears for the entire 4.5 hours, my shirt is all wet. As I sit there, every cell in my body is exploding with ecstasy. I'm just dripping ecstasy. I stayed like this for a few days. And when I shook my head and asked my skeptical mind, what could be happening to me? My mind said, maybe you're going off your rocker. So I consulted a few close friends. What could be happening to me? Something is happening to me. They said, come on, what did you drink? What did you pop? You know. So I knew there was no context anywhere around me for what was happening within. All I knew is, I've hit a gold mine, I don't want to miss it for a moment. So as I sat like this, dripping ecstasy, time would just flip. I think it's 2 minutes, 7, 8 hours gone by. I think it's just a few minutes or an hour. Days have gone by. Sometimes I sat in the same place unmoving for days on end, not even knowing it is days. Then I thought, this is it. I discovered within myself, if I don't mess with my mind, if I can keep my hand out of my mind, this is it, I will burst with ecstasy. Then I made a plan. The fool that I was on that day, I made a plan. In the next 2.5 to 3 years, I will make the entire world ecstatic. I gotten it, I got it. This is it. See, 34 years. 34 years. Well, we have touched a little over 100 million people, but that is not my idea of the world. The world is 7.3 billion people. Slowly over years of continuous and hopeless failure, I slowly discovered people have invested in their misery and they are not willing to withdraw their investment no matter how much misery it causes them. Yes? Otherwise, it's just your mind. Right now, you can think what you want, isn't it? Hello? You can think what you want, but how much pain and misery people are causing to themselves, within themselves, is unbelievable. I don't know to what extent you are exposed to human misery. Every day I'm meeting thousands and thousands of people. Unbelievable variety of misery people are manufacturing for themselves. Tell me one thing that human beings are not suffering. If they are poor, they suffer their poverty. Make them rich, they suffer the taxes. They're not educated, they suffer that. Put them to school, endless suffering. Not married, they suffer that. Get them married. I didn't say anything. I did not say anything, okay? No children, they suffer that. Give them children, daily suffering. Tell me one aspect of life that human beings are suffering. If they do something, they'll suffer. If they don't do anything, they'll suffer. This happened in 1924. There was a bishop in the Greek Orthodox community. You know Greek Orthodox? Not much in United States, I think. You are. Can I tell you something? Is it okay? So, Greek Orthodox community has their own pope in Istanbul. Generally they believe they are the only true Christians, rest are no good. They have a belief that they are the real followers of Christianity, others are whatever. So they have their own pope and their own establishment in Istanbul. Being in Istanbul, on the Silk Route, all kinds of mystical stories have been wafting across Bosphorus for a long time. So this bishop, from an early age, he had heard so many mystical, magical stories from India, he always wanted to go there. But being a man of cloth, he could not decide where to go and where not to go. Over 60 years of age, now semi-retired, he got an opportunity to go to southern India. He wants to meet a genuine mystic, he wants to meet a real yogi, not stories. So he went and asked around, somebody guided him, you go up this mountain, there in a cave there is a yogi, he is the man you want to meet. So our bishop made the journey up the mountain. Mountains no kindness, okay? They are not kind to you. They will expose you like anything. You should see all kind of heroes who come with me to trek in Tibet and Nepal. Suddenly the strong men will just collapse because mountains are not kind. So he was not built for mountains and he struggled, huffed, puffed, got there. Then he saw this yogi sitting in front of the cave. The yogi was sitting blissed out. He saw him and he had heard that when you see a yogi, you must prostrate. But there were obstructions. So with great difficulty he went down, balanced on his belly and scraped himself, and somehow huffing puffing he sat down. Hearing all this commotion, the yogi opened his eyes and smiled. Immediately the bishop asked, "Can I ask you a question?" The yogi said, "By all means." The bishop asked, "What is life?" You should have asked this question when you were 8. Yes, what is life? If you missed it in your play or in your playfulness, at least when you were 16, when there was so much confusion about many things, you should have asked the damn question, what is life? But now over 60, but it's good, because so many went to their grave without ever asking the question. At least you're asking the question now, it's great. When he asked this question, what is life, the yogi went into raptures. He said, life is like the fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze. The bishop looked at him like this, what? Life is like fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze? My teacher told me life is like a thorn. Once it gets into you, if you sit it hurts, if you lie down it hurts, if you stand up it hurts. If you do something it hurts, if you don't do something it hurts. And you are saying life is like the fragrance of a jasmine upon gentle spring breeze? The yogi smiled and said, well, that's his life. This life is not about the situations in which you exist. It is the situation within you which determines the quality of your life, right? Now only monkeys will happen. To this mind somebody taught you, do not think about bad things. Well, that's a full-time job. Because if you say, I don't want something, only that'll happen in your mind, isn't it? I'm saying, without understanding the fundamentals of the nature of our own faculties, we are trying to somehow blunder through life. We have good intentions, of course. We've always been trying to produce good people on the planet. This has been the biggest mistake. Right now, you say, I'm a good man. How I became good is, he's not okay, she's not okay, he's not okay, she's not okay, he's not okay. Compared to these people, I'm a good man. Suppose you were the only person on this planet, would you know whether you're good or bad? Hello? But you would still know whether you're joyful or miserable, isn't it? Have you noticed when you're joyful, you're very generous, very flexible, you're willing to do anything that is needed in your life? Yes? Little slightly depressed, can we get you going? Huh? That will take a lot of gas to get you going, isn't it? When you're little miserable, very difficult to move you. You're joyful, you're willing to jump and do everything that's needed around you. And this is the fundamental of our life. In our life, if we do not do what we cannot do, no problem. But if we do not do what we can do, we are a disastrous life. And this is what is happening when there is no joy in your life. When joy is not a constant companion with you, when your life is not an expression of joy, then you will not even do what you can do because the fear of suffering. If you do not remove the fear of suffering, you will never walk full stride in your life, only half steps. What will happen to me, what will happen to me is all the issue. If you have an assurance that whatever happens with your life, this is how you will be, If this assurance was there, would you explore life in much more profoundness than the way you're doing right now? Yes or no? First of all, let's decide, have you come here to experience life or to dodge life? You must decide this. Because if you want to dodge life, you must jump into the lake. To be alive and to dodge life is very difficult. The best way to dodge life is to be dead, isn't it? Hello? If you want to avoid life, the best thing is to be dead. If you're alive and try to avoid life, it becomes misery. Yes or no? And you… see, let me ask you a simple question. When you were 5 years of age, how joyful and exuberant you were, and today how joyful and exuberant you are, has it gone up or gone down? Gone down. See, with age, physical agility may go down, but aliveness need not go down, isn't it? Aliveness is going down means like you do everything in installments, you're also committing suicide in installments, slowly killing yourself part by part. I'm saying you don't have to practice death, because death is super efficient. When it happens efficiently. You don't have to practice it from now on, will I do it properly or not? That problem is only with life. However we do life, there is still something more to do. There is still room for improvement, isn't it so? It doesn't matter how well you do it, is there still room for improvement? This is the problem of life. This is not a problem of death. You don't have to walk around with a grave face like that. Like you're preparing, this posture will naturally come to you. If you don't get it, the undertaker will get you there. Suppose you die like this in ecstasy, he will anyway put you like this, otherwise you won't fit into the box. Do you have to practice this right now? Yes, this is happening. I was talking to a group of people at the Princeton University, a little over 250, 300 people, and I looked around, very grave-looking faces. Particularly in a university, I don't know if it's a weight of knowledge or something. Except a handful of young faces which looked bright and exuberant, rest were all like this. Then I asked, why are all these people over 30 years of age carrying such long faces? One lady stood up and said, they're all married. I thought people are getting married to multiply their joy. If they're getting married to multiply their misery, we need to make a law about this. If they're spreading misery in the world, there should be a law against it. Yes or no? Now, being joyful is not a consequence of the situations in which you exist. Being joyful is a consequence of how you are within yourself. Whether your system takes instructions from you or not. There are many ways to look at this. There are many ways to look at this. One thing is, today medical sciences are clearly telling you that your health and ill health is a question of chemistry. Yes? What is called as stress is one kind of chemistry, anxiety another kind of chemistry, depression another kind of chemistry, madness another kind of chemistry, agony one kind of chemistry, ecstasy another kind of chemistry. Every human experience has a chemical basis to it. Or in other words, this is a chemical soup, a very complex chemical soup. They are saying, I don't know who counted, anyway they are saying, per second, 37 followed by 21 zeros, that many chemical reactions are happening in your body. Just to give you a perspective, 12 zeros means 1 trillion. So 37 followed by 21 zeros, that many chemical reactions in this body per second. This is too complex a chemical soup, isn't it? The question is only, is it a great soup or a lousy soup? Yes? If I give all of you the same soup-making ingredients, do you believe that all of you will come up with the same kind of soup? 2,000 varieties of soups will come, the same ingredients. That's all that's happened here. That's all that's happened here. All of us are fundamentally same life-making material. See in how many ways we made ourselves. Yes? Essentially same material, isn't it? So now the soup-making skills, there may be someone here, just instinctively, they turn out a great soup. But I'm asking you, is it possible that we can make a science of making a good soup? Yes or no? With a little observation and approach, can we understand how to make a good soup? Possible or no? Somebody may be just doing it out of individual flair, but if we work on it, we can definitely make a science of how to produce the best soup, isn't it? Similarly with this, if you pay enough attention to this, if you turn inward and notice the nature of your experience, the seat of your experience, the source of human experience is within you. If you take charge of that, you will create the kind of experience that you want. You already told me you want the highest level of pleasantness. To be peaceful, to be joyful, to be in a pleasant state of experience is something that everybody is seeking, isn't it? No, I'm not interested in all this, I want to go to heaven. Why you want to go to heaven? Because the advertisements have always said it's a very pleasant place. If they told you God lives in heaven but it's a horrendous place, would you want to go there, I'm asking you? No, it's a pleasant place. Anyway, what is in heaven? Shall we explore heaven a little bit? See, in Hindu heaven, food is very good. If you're a foodie, you must go to Hindu heaven. Best food. In another heaven, there are those white-gowned ladies floating in the clouds. If you like that kind of ambience, you must go there. If you go to another heaven, you will encounter virgin problems. If you like that, you can go there. But what is the qualification for you to get there? This happened in Alabama. The Sunday school teacher was going on full fire. The audience were not adults like you, they were tiny tots, 5, 6-year-olds. Full fire. Sunday school teacher going in full enthusiasm. Then he asked with a booming voice, "What do you have to do to go to heaven?" Little Mary stood up and said, "If I scrub this church floor every Sunday, I will go to heaven." Absolutely. Another little girl stood up there and said, "If I share 50% of my pocket money with my less privileged friend, I will go to heaven." Correct. Another little boy stood up there and said, "If I help those who are in need, I will go to heaven." Correct. Little Tommy in the back bench stood up and said, "You gotta die first." You got to die first, isn't it? If you die, do you know all of you will die one day? It's not my wish, I'll bless you with a long life. But anyway, you will die one day, is it okay? Hello? Very important to know this, because most people think other people die. No, you and me will die. We don't want to die today, but we will die one day. Is that okay? It's not my wish, it'll anyway happen, okay? So if you die, depending on what culture you belong to, we'll either bury you, burn you or throw you to the birds. Yes? It's a very good thing because this body is just the soil of this planet that we picked it up, made it into food, ate it up and made it like this. One of the most ecological thing that you can do in your life is you put your body back into the earth. Yes, it's a good thing to do. In where we are, when somebody dies around us, I always make sure they're buried under a tree. And I always notice the next 2-3 months, the tree is having a party. It'll just burst forth with new vigor. So if anybody's feeling I'm worthless, I'm no use to anybody, don't have such fears. And if you have this fear of failure, if I fail, what will happen in this life? Believe me, nobody will fail, everybody shall pass. Nobody will be detained because you didn't do well. Anyway you shall pass, isn't it? Now, for the first time in the history of humanity, more human beings are beginning to think for themselves. For many millennia, your priest, pandit, guru, scripture, somebody else thought for you. For the first time, a huge number of people, a large segment of the population is beginning to think for themselves. Once you think for yourself, whatever comes towards you must be logically correct, otherwise you cannot swallow it. Yes or no? You're already having the struggles, isn't it? It must be logically correct, otherwise you cannot swallow it. If somebody thrusts it down your throat, you will have indigestion. If you don't dare to ask these questions, your children will definitely will. In the next 25 to 30 years' time, you will see heavens will collapse, because if you ask a few questions, it will collapse. In the sense, see, you lost your body here and then you went to heaven without a body. Once you don't have a body, what do you do with good food and virgins, I'm asking? These are all problems of the body, isn't it? You don't have a body. Where are you going to throw good food and how are you going to run after the virgins? I'm saying if you ask two, 3 questions, everything will collapse. Even if you don't have the courage to ask, the next generation is going to ask these questions. Once these questions asked, heavens will collapse. We have managed humanity like this for a long time. Human longing to experience something more, we always told them, don't worry, you are miserable here, it doesn't matter. When you get there, everything will be fantastic. Future generations will not buy this from you. They're not going to buy this. You notice your children won't buy this from you. Once heavens may collapse, but human longing to experience something more will not go. When this happens, you will see a large segment of the population moving towards chemical solutions. Already it's happening, big time in the world. In the last 25 to 30 years, the way the populations have moved towards chemicals to manage healthfulness, peacefulness, their joyfulness, they have moved towards chemicals in a big way. I was in New York City with a large group of people and I asked them, what percentage of people in New York City can sit quietly in the evening without even a glass of wine? I'm taking a glass of wine as minimum dose. A whole lot of people need many more things. They go into a debate and they say, 5%. I said, okay. About 7 weeks ago I was in London, a very prominent group of people. I asked them, what percentage of people in London city can sit peacefully in the evening without even a glass of wine? They say less than 1%. 70% of the American population is on prescription medication. Another 30%, of course, buying things off the back street. See, either in individual life or in a society or in a nation, why is it that people seek affluence, ease? Affluence means, initially it means a choice of nourishment. Once that is over, it is a choice of lifestyle. This is the reason why people want affluence, isn't it? The most affluent nation on the